Senator Duff.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, we now will have remarks for Senator Linares, and I would certainly invite anybody to begin those remarks for him as well. And thank you.
Thank you. Who's going to start first? Senator Bai.
Thank you, Madam President. I don't know if there's some sort of protocol, but I think as Arts co-chair, I'd love to start with some remarks and just say, Senator Linares, we're going to miss you in the circle. It's been wonderful working on the Higher Education Committee with you on our bills. But my memory goes back to when I was chair of appropriations and you were brand new senator and your office was just a couple down from mine. And we were late one night at a Judiciary Committee hearing, and you had a refrigerator in your office, and it was a very long hearing, and 5 or 6 or 7 of us sat around, Democrats, Republicans, just sort of laughing and getting to know each other, and you were brand new, but you just had such an open way about you and such a welcoming way. It's like, hey, come on in. I also remember that your wife, now wife, Representative Simmons, was part of that crowd that was getting together in the Judiciary Committee meetings and hearings at night. And I didn't know at the time, nor did anybody here, what was blooming in that office starting around that evening. But we're very happy for you. I've been trying to collect some colleagues who will get together and make a little video here of another couple walking around together. And I think we could do a really good spoof of your CNN special love story, but we haven't had time to do that yet. But I want to thank you for your willingness to reach across the aisle, to collaborate on bills. When we disagree, we did it respectfully. I think this year, the work that you did listening to the students who were back for year 4, the Connecticut Students for a Dream, you were always respectful and polite and listened, and this year you ended up running that public hearing and heard story after story after story, and you sort of made it your mission along with Representative Stanesky to say, how can we help these students, but also make sure that I feel comfortable and that my colleagues feel comfortable with a resolution that the students need to follow some rules as well. And I know that that wasn't easy for you, but it was really an example of how you stuck with it, you looked for a solution, you solved a problem, and we passed a bill the last time we brought up, before you were chair of higher education. I sat in this seat and then stood up to defend the last bill about students who were undocumented, and it was an 8.5-hour debate. This year, working with you and Senator Fasano and Representative Stanesky and Representative Haddad, I think we took policymaking seriously, but I give you a lot of credit because I know that wasn't easy for you, given everything else going on in your life. To take the time to truly listen to constituents, to listen to the plight of the students who wanted to make a better life for themselves. And I think you had a lot of empathy for them, but at the same time you had to make sure the bill had certain elements that would give your caucus comfort, and you did that. So I wanted to use that as an example to thank you for your service and for your thoughtful policy making on that bill and many others. So we're going to miss you, but I know we're going to see you still. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator France, followed by Senator Leone, then followed by Senator Formica.
Thank you so much, Madam President. I appreciate that very much. You know, I said this before about the previous honoree, and that is if you want to measure someone's intelligence level, look at who they ended up marrying. Right here, Representative Simmons, who I've known practically since she was a newborn, is one of the most wonderful people under the dome here today. And together these two are going to work magic. And you know, Art, your choice here it just says everything about you. Your character is flawless. Your character is flawless as well. But what a marriage made in heaven. And I've joked about this, but I'm halfway serious that if these two ran as a joint ticket for governor and lieutenant governor and swapped out every other year for 4 years, they'd win in a landslide, in a heartbeat. They would. These guys both present so much hope to everybody under this dome and everybody in the state of Connecticut. I cannot believe that they kept this relationship that they had a state secret for practically a year. It was, as someone I wanted to protect up here when she first got here as like a little sister or whatever. I had no idea what was going on. And when I found out about it, I was absolutely, I went, into vapor lock for about 3.5 minutes. I had to almost pull down one of those AEDs for me. Like, I had no idea whatsoever. So, kudos to you both for keeping this thing just absolutely quiet the entire time. And what a wonderful, again, wonderful marriage made in heaven. Senator Linares is one of the only 2 senators in the entire country who is of Cuban-Irish background. I mean, talk about a weird, interesting background, wonderful background, but very, very unusual. There's another senator in Washington who has the exact same background. But boy, have you brought a lot to this chamber and to our caucus. Your perspective has been so appreciated, and your spirit and your commitment to the principles that are so important to you and so important to a lot of us across the aisle as well. Is greatly appreciated. And I just want to say, you and I share the exact same car. You had that Tesla for a long time, which is a wonderful machine and cutting edge technology and everything else. But I think we're going through too many tires, and Carolyn said no more of that. So you got the Tahoe, and I have the Tahoe. But you've got those chrome wheels, those beautiful chrome wheels. Someday I aspire to be as good as you, Senator Linares. They have the chrome wheels on the Chevrolet Tahoe. Just very briefly, these two are absolutely the future of the state of Connecticut. You're hopefully going to be here in the House for many years to come, maybe the Senate, maybe the governor's office, who knows, and you will be our next treasurer, and you will take such good care of us going forward. And I just want to say thank you to you for all of your efforts here. I consider you the best of friends that anybody can have. You are just one great human being, as well as you, Representative Simmons. Again, it's a Hollywood fairy tale type story, and so proud to know you, and Godspeed to you, and hope it all works out well in November. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Leone.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise also to say some kind remarks to my colleague, as well as my colleague in the House. Senator Linares, we first met when you first got elected to the Senate, taking the seat of Senator Eileen Daley, a person who was very well respected here in the chamber with a long-lasting legacy. And all eyes were on you when you came into this chamber. And so that's also something to sort of live up to. But you came in as your own person because you were successful in your own right with your own business at such a young age. And I know we've made some comments about how young you are and were when you first came in, where we would tell stories and then you would tell stories and we would just say that was just yesterday. But you came in with open mind. You listened, and we worked very well together on the Banks Committee. And you were successful in the sense that you came in and you have that exuberance of youth that all institutions need. We need that shot in the arm, because as we acquire experience and wisdom, sometimes that takes you in a direction you think you know it all, and then you have to make way for the new generation that comes in. You have been that reflection for your party. We on the Democratic side, we had Caroline to give us that exuberance of youth down in the House chamber. And I've gotten to know Representative Simmons quite well in the Stamford area, because she came in with that same exuberance, well-educated, very smart woman in her own right, and very successful. And we were proud of her just as your party was proud of you. Both of our sides kind of wanted to have both of you on each side, so it would be a great ticket. Little did we all know that you had the same thing in mind and you were conspiring to do just that. And I know Representative Simmons did such a well job because we were all in the dark on what was going on. And when finally it started to come to fruition, she did inform us as a delegation. And of course, we were shocked at how did this happen. We had no idea because it was such a well-kept secret. It's not something that we were trying to add two and two together. But when you look at it after that decision was made, you can see why that decision was made. You two were meant for each other, both very smart, very educated. You have both a bright future ahead of you. Both of you, I think, are to be commemorated for picking each other as an equal partner to move ahead in life. And the fact that you did it in a bipartisan manner in the crazy world of politics that we live in gives us hope for that brighter future that we're all striving for, because we can easily fall into the partisan politics. And it's hard to dislike someone that you like because they've married someone you like. And you're both likable. I think you are both going to be very, very successful, whether it's in the political arena or in your private life. You have nothing but a bright future together forward. We want to support you. I am so fortunate that Caroline is in our Stanford delegation. Now I can attest that you are also in our Stanford delegation. So we have expanded in a positive way. And we will welcome you as a family, friend, and member in our community, because I believe you're still trying to finalize the housing situation. So we wish you all the best there. And that's no easy feat. Just get ready to have that checkbook ready to write numerous checks. You know, coming into this circle, dealing with everything we have to do, and then the best decision you ever did was to pick someone that you love that happened to be from the other party. That gives us the opportunity and the hope that we all need. That's the shot in the arm that we can use to be successful as a state of Connecticut. So I wish you nothing but the best individually, each of you, and collectively as a group, as a couple going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Famico, followed by Senator Guglielmo, followed by Senator Boucher.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, and thank you both. I had the great pleasure of meeting Arthur in 2012. I think I ran for Congress against Congressman Courtney, and it was a big load for me to try to take on running for Congress. When one of the first people that I met was Art. It was your first campaign, I believe, running for the Senate, and he was so passionate and so enthusiastic, surrounded by his family all the time, their family affair, getting this thing done, talking about it. And all he kept talking about were his shoes. He's going to wear out how many pairs of shoes? 3? 3 pairs of shoes. And I'm thinking, 3 pairs of shoes. I have shoes that are older than he is. But, you know, I fed off his passion, and I fed off his enthusiasm. I fed off his thoughtful debates, his policy. You were prepared, you were ready, and you convinced the people in that district that you were the right choice, and you have done it time and time again. Because of the person who you are, but also because of the courage that you have to take on these issues, to stand tall for what you believe in, to do the right thing, and to try to move Connecticut forward first. So I'm grateful that I got to learn about you and your family and how they got here and how proud you are of how they got here. But more importantly, I'm very excited to be able to know who you are as a friend. And to have Caroline at your side, having a soulmate like that, that's what life's about. And so you will know no boundaries. So grow your love together, keep doing what's in your heart, and we will all benefit. And I thank you for the opportunity to share that friendship with you. Thank you both very much, and best of luck. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Senator Guglielmo, followed by Senator Boucher, followed by Senator Flexer.
Thank you, Madam President. I've gotten to know this young guy pretty well. I have a grandson who's 25 years of age. But the one thing about the circle, it's a great equalizer. Doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter too much what party you have. We each represent 100,000 people. We all have our say, and we do it respectfully, which is pretty special. But I remember when Art first came to the caucus, Rob Kane, who liked to have fun, as Senator Kennedy said, you do have to have fun. So Art left one of the caucuses, and he walked out. So Rob said to Senator Fasano, he said, let's have some fun, and when he comes back in, tell him he's not allowed to leave the caucus without permission. So Art came back in. You guys remember this? Art came back in, and Len handled it real well, and he said, Art, I know you're new here and everything, but you can't leave the caucus without permission. And then Art got real humble, and he got red, and he said, well, geez, I had to go to the John, so I'm really sorry. But anyway, he took it well. He's a guy that likes to have fun. And like most of us in the circle here, and outside of the circle, we married up. And I will give him one last bit of encouragement. My wife and I have been married. We've been married 55 years in August. And politically, we agree on nothing. We argue through Fox, CNN, MSNBC. We're on different sides of every issue. But somehow, it'll work. God bless you both. Really, it's wonderful. You've been a great addition to the caucus. I really enjoyed sitting next to you. It's been a real pleasure and an honor.
Thank you. The Senator Boucher, followed by Senator Flexer, followed by Senator Larson.
Thank you so much, Madam President. It is a true joy to stand here to give a parting message to a couple of wonderful representatives that we care so much about. Art, so young. You came in with the same kind of anticipation and questions just as Senator Kennedy did with his background, but you distinguished yourself because you were so young in this position. And they weren't quite sure, how it would all work out. But indeed, you've made everyone proud, and you've become an inspiration. And think of all of the others that have followed since you've been here, even younger than you are. It is incredible. But the kind of experience and maturity level and knowledge that you brought due to your early beginnings of entrepreneurship and the wonderful pride you took in your family's ancestry background and the struggles that they went through and the adversity that you were happy to make sure people knew about really impressed everyone, I have to say, all of us. And what it showed was a certain amount of groundedness that many of us didn't expect. I often will take some younger representatives on our side of the aisle and bring them aside and said, don't let this position go to your head. Because when you get something like that with so much influence and maybe even seemed as power, that it often changes a person's character when you're that young. It really has ruined some people's careers as a result of that. But that certainly wasn't anything that you ever showed, and that is really a good characterization for you. And you know what? You quickly did distinguish yourself, and now you're known for being passionate about electric cars, no question about that, but also charter schools, and giving every child an opportunity to learn no matter what background they come with. And also higher education in general, champion understanding that access to higher education is what will make the difference in life for people at the very bottom of the economic ladder. You and I have had many conversations about our mutual backgrounds and what it's like to struggle, and that and where you actually began to become an entrepreneur during those very incredible informative years, and your desire to promote entrepreneurship because you lived it and you're an example of all of that. And your groundedness and good judge of character is exemplified by the partner that you took on in your life, who I have to say, whose smile lights up the room and certainly lit up my heart and made me an instant fan. And you know that I love you both very much. And we have an inside story about the fight song. If you've ever heard that song, right? Well, guys, okay, this is your fight song to save Connecticut, to improve it, to make it better for everyone in the state. I know that you believe this, and I know that you're going to have a wonderful future together, and best wishes, not only to both of you, but to the wonderful family that you will probably bring forward, we hope, and light up the state. As you've done so much. Your contributions are wonderful, but I know it's just the very, very beginning. And I'm going to be in the more mature phase of my life and look forward to being there for you and to help you and promote your futures as well. I couldn't be more fond of any two people here in the legislature. You know I love you both, Caroline and Art. Good luck with everything. We're so grateful for your service here. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Senator Flexer, followed by Senator Larson, and Senator Hartley.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm really grateful to have this opportunity to say thank you and goodbye to Senator Linares. When I first got to this circle, Senator Linares and I were privileged to both be the youngest members of this circle, and through his leadership, he started the Young Legislators Caucus. And he did a great job organizing a bipartisan effort between the House and the Senate of all of the legislators under the age of 40, of which Art is still considerably far, far, far away from 40, to work together on issues. And sometimes we didn't disagree within that. We didn't agree, within that group. And Art had a great knack of trying to find where we could have common ground and where we could work together as a group to move issues important to young people forward. And I know that's also one of the first places that he had interaction with Representative Simmons. And I think we've all heard a lot about the story of when he helped her put her coat on after a Young Legislators event. I was proud to witness that moment. And I think Senator Linares is probably going to be the youngest senator to ever retire. I mean, let's just be clear, he's not even 30 years old. And I really, again, I have to say, I did admire the way he was able to bring people together. And he and I, at times, have had disagreements about things, and he has always been incredibly respectful and thoughtful, and we've been able to work through that. And I'm very grateful for that relationship. And I remember when I first heard about the possibility that there was something romantic going on between Representative Simmons and Representative Linares, and Caroline and I had a girls' night, and I said, "What are you doing? What's going on?" And she's like, "I think I'm falling in love with him." And I said, "Oh no." But it was so obvious in that moment how much she cared for him and how much she respected him, and that their relationship was for real, as we all now know. And the way that Art lights up when she is around, and both of their commitment to their relationship is evident to all of us here in this building, and it's been special to be around that. And so, Art, we're sad to see you go, and I am glad that hopefully Caroline is still going to be in this building serving her community, and I'm glad that this perhaps means that you'll be living in that community with her. And I'm sad to see you go, Art. And it's been a pleasure getting to know you and working with you over the years. And I wish you nothing but the best of luck in the future. And I hope to see you in Stamford real soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Larson, followed by Senator Hartley, followed by Senator Markley.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Please proceed, sir.
Senator Linares, it's been really tremendous to know you. I've watched the vitality that you bring to this caucus, to your energy that you permeate with everything. It's clear that you've married way above your station. We're very proud of that. You've picked the right life partner. Public service is clearly in your veins. I'm sure that this is probably a little bit of a respite to do some other things for a while. Wish you luck in your future endeavors, and you're going to be great at whatever you do. All the best.
Senator Hartley, followed by Senator Markley, followed by Senator Berthel.
Thank you, Madam President, and I rise to join my colleagues for a point of personal privilege in recognizing Senator Linares. And I would like to be the first, actually, to officially dub Senator Linares as the father of bipartisanship. You have exhibited the quintessential bipartisanship in your choice for your soulmate for the rest of your life. And of course, we have all observed in awe what a beautiful couple you have made, but what an incredible dynamic force you have made with regard to public service. So when I'm out in the district and throughout the state and we get all these comments like, all you legislators, you really need to clear the decks, you're just old and cold and gray. And I say, no, you haven't met Art Linares and Caroline Simmons. And actually, so national media has noticed you, and it was a really cool thing when the Valentine interviews were going around. And so you helped to put us on the map, and especially when we see what goes on in Washington, this is the quintessential example of reaching across the aisle, putting someone's coat on, working with someone, and accomplishing great things. But Art, I have observed you to be an incredible and dedicated public servant, and you have always, on the issues that you have worked on it, advanced, done it from the heart and with great passion and dedication. And one of the things I know that you have worked on a lot is something that has resonated deeply in my district, and that's the educational savings account. I represent a district that formerly had the most parochial schools in the state of Connecticut, and currently has the only yeshiva congregation, and a growing one at that. And so they are very much behind this legislation, and actually probably right up to a moment ago I am receiving communication about this. So your name precedes you in terms of all of this good work, and hopefully we can get that bill across the finish line, but also all of the other things that you have advocated for. And I do have to plead some contrition here, because I will say that I did at times reach out to your partisan colleague to your right and say, can you take care of this with Art? And so maybe that's against the rules of ethics, but I just couldn't resist. But the best to you, Art, because I know that you're going to continue on the path that you have already defined for yourself. And actually, and I should also mention this, it wasn't too long ago that I happened to be in New York City at an event, and someone came up to me from New Jersey and said, and do you know Senator Linares? And so it was somebody, I don't know if it was a family relation or whatever, and is it true he's the youngest? And I said, well, he set the pace, and he started this thing. And anyway, they talked about your miracle win and that you're going to do it again. So anyway, all the best to you and Caroline. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Senator Markley, followed by Senator Berthel, followed by Senator Martin.
Thank you, Madam President, for allowing me this point of personal privilege. And it's one of those cases where I don't think I can really quite adequately express what I'd like to say to Art on his departure. I guess I'd say that I've known him maybe a little bit longer than most of the people here in this circle, because I met him fairly early on in his campaign at a time when I was working a lot with candidates. And a good friend of mine, a keen political observer, went out to talk to him, and on the way back called me and said, this guy's a winner. And my meeting with him only confirmed that to me. Not only Art himself, but his whole family. Just a great group of people. And with a terrific attitude and determination, which was not hard-edged, but forward-looking. Wanting to succeed, not wanting to succeed at the expense of others. And he's had that success both politically and professionally, And I think he's going to be a winner for a long time. Art knows what great hopes I have for his future here in the state of Connecticut. And everybody it's hard not to say something nice about Caroline while you're standing there. I have to say that when I realized, or when I was told what was going on, and then the next time I saw Caroline, she knew that I knew, and she looked at me with a smile that I thought, that explains it all. It just about could have, if I were just a little younger, I would have been a puddle on the floor. I will say, too, that not only have I had the pleasure of seeing Art's success here and feeling kind of a pride in it. I remember so well how not simply impressed but delighted I was by the speech he gave here on opening day when he was sworn in, which I thought was just magnificent, and immediately established himself as somebody who would be reckoned with in this chamber. And other times that I've heard him speak. And I won't even mention the 20 or 30 times lately I've heard him talk about mulching people's backyards. But he's a brilliant speaker, and he's a man that is going to go a long ways. And I feel better about the future of the state of Connecticut knowing that I have somebody like Art Linares who will be looking out for it when I am long gone. And he has been a friend to me here in this circle and in the caucus. When I have been down, when I felt beaten down, I've known that there's always somebody that will come over and give me a pat on the back and a word of encouragement. And I won't say I'll miss you, because I hope we'll be together in a different circumstance. But I have greatly enjoyed and deeply appreciated your friendship and your fellowship.
Senator Berthel, followed by Senator Martin, followed by Senator Wong.
Thank you, Madam President, for the opportunity to rise for a point of personal privilege. I think I'll be maybe the first one here tonight to welcome Caroline to the circle. Officially, you're sitting in the Republican leader's chair, so welcome to the circle. Maybe you'll aspire to climb the stairs at some point in time in the future. As the newest member of this great chamber, our time together has been short compared to everyone else in the room. But nonetheless, as you have very often said, it's been awesome. Hey, and I love the fact that you describe things as awesome when they truly are. When I arrived at seat number 32, I found myself surrounded by some great neighbors, Senator Martin to my left and you, of course, to the right. And I'm truly fortunate for that, because not everyone in the room gets to necessarily say that about their neighbors. I've enjoyed sharing comments about the various legislation that we're working on here. We've shared some comments about automobiles. We both have a love for those. You've told me the ups and downs of your Tesla experience. You've also shared, some of your comments about how interesting it is to be married to a Democrat who just happens to be this beautiful woman, Caroline. And I've enjoyed that as well. But most importantly, you made me feel welcomed here after coming up from the House. And, you've helped me to understand bills that were important to you. You've convinced me to vote differently, perhaps, on how I would have voted because of why you were so passionate about that and what you were working on, and I thank you for that. We have also enjoyed many a quiet laugh at this desk regarding some of the work that is going on in this room. But, as others have said, you have a passion for the work that we do in this circle, and it is enviable given your youthful years, and you are truly wise beyond your years. I wish for you the best in the future. I can't wait to celebrate your success in November as our next treasurer for the state of Connecticut. I wish you and Caroline continued happiness and much love in your lives together. Art, you are truly a gentleman, and I thank you for your friendship, your camaraderie. You have left your mark on this building and this place, and that's a good thing. God bless you both. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Senator Martin, followed by Senator Wong, followed by Senator Summers.
Thank you, Madam President, for allowing me a point of personal privilege. Art, you are going to be missed in the circle, without a doubt. You bring this youthfulness, obviously because you're 30 years old, but the smile that you possess, your positive outlook, and the ideas that you bring not only to the caucus, our caucus, but to the circle here. You're very intelligent, in my opinion. you're very impressive. I've heard that earlier tonight. And just now from Senator Berthal, you're wise beyond your years. What I am going to miss the most is teasing you about Tesla. I would walk by you and I would keep telling you Tesla's going down. So I'm telling you one more time, Tesla's going down. You're no longer here to promote it. So I'm sure we will see you in this building in the near future. I'm glad to call you my friend. I wish you and Caroline all the best, and God bless both of you.
Thank you. Senator Wong, followed by Senator Summers and Senator Kennedy. You're coming. You put your hand up later than everybody, so I'm going along the way. Senator Wong.
Thank you, Madam President. It's hard to... well, I wanted to add how appropriate that tonight we recognize two terrific senators that are moving on. We have Senator Kennedy, the family name speaks for itself, but at the same time, we honor the son of a Cuban immigrant, someone who escaped from communism and socialism to pursue a better life. That is what this country is all about. And you embody that in your debates and in your passion. If nothing else that's been repeated often is the fact that you are your father's son. And having the pleasure of meeting the man, I think he looks only 45. But I see the same relentlessness and the passion that he must have had to bring himself, and escaping communism, to bring himself to America, to give you and your sister a better life. And in your pursuit of public service, you continue and honor him. So I will say, your work in public is reflected by your commitment to higher education, to charter schools and school choice. And it shows that America, when given the opportunity to pursue what it has to offer to its people, remains the greatest country in the world. And you reflect that. And I've heard many times that you and I share a mutual commitment to electric cars in Connecticut, although on different sides. But we are committed to understanding that is the future. And I applaud our time spent in interacting. You have taught me a lot. But one thing for certain, it will not be the last that we hear of Arthur Linares. And if there's anything I could give as other people interact with you and compete against you, is that no one should ever underestimate you. You're a winner. And you're a winner not only from the circle and what you do, but you bring a sense of style. I think you're the only one in the circle and possibly in this building that could wear Prada-cut suits and make it look great, because I don't think any of us, with the way we've been eating in the late sessions, would fit into that suit. But Art, regardless of whatever you do in politics in the upcoming months, I will say that you have already won. You have found the love of your life that you'll be able to share for the rest of your life. So regardless what happens, I wish you and Caroline well, and you have indeed already won, and we have won by knowing you. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, sir. Senator Summers, followed by Senator Kennedy, followed by Senator Gomes.
Good evening, and thank you for letting me rise for a point of personal privilege. I am so sad to see Art go, but I met Art quite a few years ago when my good friend Sid Holbrook said, I have to introduce you to this young guy who's going to run for Senate. He's 12, but he's going to just knock on every door that he can. And he looks 8, but he's really nice, and he's from Cuba. And so I met Sid, and I talked to Art, and he showed me, I think, 4 or 5 pairs of shoes that you had worn out knocking on doors. And then I met his dad, and I was so impressed with Art's enthusiasm and his maturity way beyond his years. And I'm not sure how old you were. How old were you? I don't know, 25 or something. But he came to our house. He met with my husband and I. and sorry to say this, Caroline, but I had a daughter that was perfectly suited for art, and I was hoping that they would go out. She kind of looks like you, but it never happened. So I'm glad that he found you, and Haley is definitely jealous. But I just wanted to say that Art has been a great seatmate to me in the Senate. We knew each other for quite some time. He worked with me on other campaigns. He inspired a young man to run in the House downstairs, Andre Baumgardner, and he has been a great inspiration for many young people. Not only has he been a wonderful colleague, but he's been a very good friend, and I think he brings not only a breath of fresh air to our Senate and to our state legislature, or has brought one, but he inspires young people to get involved, because if Art can win a Senate seat at 12 and be able to, knock on doors, nobody's getting my jokes, and, do such a great job, then everyone that's out there, you don't have to be our age to be able to represent the people of Connecticut. And I think that you have done some amazing things in such a compressed amount of time. You had a successful business. You have been in the Senate now for 6 years. You married a beautiful Democrat, and you have a bipartisan marriage, which is amazing. And I am not going to say goodbye. I'm going to say we'll see you in a different place, and we hope that when you become our next treasurer here in the state of Connecticut, that you will come by and tell us how we're doing on our fiscal stability. So I am so excited for you. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see you in Washington someday. So congratulations, I'm going to say, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Senator Kennedy, followed by Senator Gomes, and then Senator Giordano.
Thank you, Madam President. Art, I want to say thank you for your service to the state of Connecticut. I recall that same moment meeting you. This is after my election. I think we were at an event, fundraiser, I think for the Goodspeed, and I remember meeting you, and you were so welcoming. You had so much class. You were such a gentleman. I knew you were a Republican, but I said to myself, I'm going to get along with this guy. And I remember that so well, and you have always conducted yourself, very even-handedly and very fairly. And when I look at you, I think that you are somebody who's going to be a success in your life, no matter what you do. And I can think of a million things that you can do with your life. So I wish you tremendous success in your political life. I wish you success in your new marriage and building your family together, because I know that both of us are motivated by the same thing, which is to make Connecticut an even better place to live and to work. Thank you so much. It's been really an honor to get to know you.
Senator Gomes, followed by Senator Giordano, then followed by Senator McLaughlin.
Mr. Linares, me and you have something in common. We're both leaving here. The oldest and the youngest. I'm the oldest one up here, and you're the youngest one in this chamber. I think you're quite impressive a guy. I have a nickname for you. I call you the Tesla Kid. So, but the thing it is, you've accomplished so much and been so young, and on top of all that, you got a beautiful wife there, has a beautiful disposition. I didn't know her from Adam, but every time I walk past her, hi, how you doing, and everything. So both of you, I wish you the best. I wish that you have a long career and a long life, and you've already got the best life you can get, a career. You've got a career behind you as a senator. You're a young businessman with a hell of a business, and you got a beautiful wife. What the hell do you want anymore? I really wish you well. And we haven't been that close, but every time we've seen each other, we've talked to each other. I admire you. I admire what you do. And just for the thought of being up here at your age, after successfully run a business, and on top of that, you get married. You got it all, man. Have a good life.
Senator Giordano, followed by Senator McLaughlin, followed by Senator Suzio.
Thank you, Madam President, for the point of personal privilege. Art, gosh, you know, you're a lot younger than my kids. And I was really surprised to see you when you became elected. Surprised because I said, who is that dapper, I know that's an old fuddy-duddy term, but that dapper young man walking down the hallway, and you reminded me of my sons. My oldest son is quite appropriately interested in what he wears and what he puts on, and I was so very impressed with that, but I just thought, so young, so young. And then learning and listening to the accomplishments of your life already, having the business, and of course it's been said before. But the one thing that really, well, there were two things that I want to say about you. One is our conversations about electric cars. And I do have friends who have Teslas, and we had that conversation, but I never was interested in electric cars. But after many of our conversations, I actually went out and bought one. So I just wanted you to know that. Became so intrigued and did some research, and my youngest son is quite a car buff, and he's the one who picked it out for me. But I'm so very pleased to be able to have that. And the other thing is how impressive you are as a very, very smart man, because you married Representative Simmons. So I congratulate you on that. You have a great future ahead of you. I know you'll continue to do well in whatever you do. We'll miss you here. And as I said, good luck and my best to your future endeavors.
Thank you. Senator McLaughlin, followed by Senator Suzio, followed by Senator Austin.
Thank you, Madam President. A point of personal privilege to say hello and best wishes to Senator Art Linares. Art has certainly been a breath of fresh air for the Connecticut General Assembly. We're grateful for the energy that you've brought to the Senate Republican caucus. And I can't help but say I'm still scratching my head on how you went a year without, especially in a building like this, without anybody knowing what was really going on. That's pretty amazing. That is really amazing. In a building where it seems like people know, what you had for breakfast, and yet you were able to keep that a very personal decision of yours. And like me, you married up. And Carolyn is one really sharp lady who I've had the pleasure of serving with on the Judiciary Committee, and always found her to be very deliberate in her questioning and interest on that committee. I wish you the best. I can't help but mention that Art was working very hard on issues of interest to him. He and I were on the opposite sides of Tesla, and so he made it a point to let me know that he had a Tesla and encouraged me to take a ride in. In fact, tried to give me the keys to the car to take it for a ride, and I dared not because he told me that it drove much faster than my car, and I wasn't prepared to get a speeding ticket to test the Tesla. But I appreciated your persistence on that matter. I imagine someday that issue will be settled. And I also wanted to say that I learned tonight of your Cuban-Irish heritage. And I must tell you that my two grandnieces who live in Miami are of Cuban-Irish heritage. Their dad was Cuban, and their mother, my niece, Irish, and we're all mutts, by the way. It's not, I don't know too many thoroughbreds, but these two girls like you are, I can just picture them when they're another 10 years down the road, they're going to be like you. Both of them are skipping grades in school. It's just incredible, and they're excelling and really enjoying themselves. And I can see the Cuban culture and the Irish culture coming together just fine, just beautifully well. So I wish both of you well, and I'm glad you've settled on where to live. I was sort of wondering about that too, but you have a good partner there, and I'll tell you also that I come from a mixed political marriage family. My grandfather was the Democratic town clerk of my hometown of Danbury, and so my mom grew up in a Democratic home, and all the way back to my great-grandfather on Dad's side were Republicans, and they got married and never talked politics, ever. And they couldn't understand why their seventh child, me, the youngest, became a political junkie at age 10 because they didn't really talk politics much in the house. They knew better. And I guess I could have gone either way, but here I am, a Republican, and it was indeed just proof that it really doesn't matter if you have both parties represented at home. You can get along just fine. God bless you, and a wonderful life to both of you.
Senator Suzio, followed by Senator Austin.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise on a point of personal privilege.
Please proceed, sir.
Thank you. Art, I remember the first time I met you. It was at O'Rourke's Diner in Middletown, and I think it was 2011. And I don't remember what we talked about, but I do remember the impression I had of you. And I thought to myself, boy, here's a young man who's got great potential and who's going places. I love the energy and the enthusiasm I saw in you then. And as I said, I thought, wow, he might even have a good future in politics. Lo and behold, a year later, you're running for the state senate, and you win. And at the same time, I lost. So your success, was to be envied by me, and you've been here now. This is your third term, I think, and you're ready to move on in life and up in politics. I know this, that you brought not only energy and enthusiasm to the circle here, and a new young face, but a new face to the Republican Party in Connecticut, too. It's great to have someone of your background with your family's history, fleeing Cuba, coming across as refugees to America. And I think, wow, your family story is the embodiment of the ideals that America stands for, that you flee an oppressive dictatorship, establish yourself here in the United States, and now you, as the next generation, are moving on and getting involved in politics. And I see a great future for you again, Art. I think you're going to go places, a long way. In fact, when I look at you, I can't help but think of Marco Rubio down in Florida, and I think of you as the Marco Rubio of Connecticut. And I do believe you bring a great new, fresh, bold face to the Republican Party. We need some new, young, bold faces like yours with a great story, a great family history, a great story to tell, which, again, embodies the ideals of what's best about America. I think you will bring that enthusiasm, that energy, the intelligence, and the dedication to the job of being treasurer of the state of Connecticut, and we would do well to elect you as treasurer. And in fact, when you and I spoke about potentially endorsing you, I didn't hesitate a nanosecond. I have no reservation about your qualifications and the great job you're going to do for the people of Connecticut, should they be smart enough to elect you this fall. So, along with all my colleagues here in the Senate, we're going to miss you in one way from being here in the circle, but I think we all hope that we might see you here in another role as the state treasurer next year. And I wish you the very best in this fall and going forward in your new marriage with Carolyn as well. Good luck to you, Art. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Senator Austin, then Senator Casano, followed by Senator Kelly.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I stand for a point of personal privilege.
Please proceed, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Art, I got to work with you when you first came up here in planning and development and had some really good times working in that committee, with one of the committees that I think sets the whole character for the state of Connecticut. You and I have often had those conversations on the different pieces of legislation that are in planning and development. And I always think of that as sort of setting the skeleton of which we work off of to give us a way to complete economic development or sort of the quality of life issues that are so important to each and every one of the residents in the state of Connecticut. I get to go to a lot of different events, as we all do. And one of the favorite events that I have is going to Eagle Scout events. And you remind me of those young men remind me of what you were not so very long ago. And I tell them the same thing that I'm going to tell you here tonight, that we talk about the last greatest generation, and World War II veterans were always and always will be considered greatest generation, but I take great faith in our future because we have the next greatest generation sitting in front of us. And I think that that's so important to recognize that we didn't get all the best in the past, that a lot of the best is in our future. And you and Caroline, although, you know, I had to ask her why, I don't understand, but apparently love has its way. But I do think that having young people like the two of you involved in our government is the best thing for all of us. It sets it's like having that skeleton of our country set all over again, embodying that next greatest generation. And I've always asked, I challenge every Eagle Scout that I go to get married. You've already done that. To do whatever you want with your life and have a great time, and you're doing that now. But to have small children and come back and run for political office, well, you've run, but I would encourage you to continue to run, because we need great people who care about things, who are thoughtful and honest, and I think that both of you are our best hope for being great. I'll finish what I have to say with telling you what my mom always said. My mom was an Irish Catholic Democrat. And my dad, who said he was part Irish, was Protestant and a Republican. My mom said that was not true, because there was no such thing as an Irishman who was not Catholic and who was not a Democrat. So I just pointed out that I'm going to have to go with my mom on this issue here, but I wish you all the best. I am sure that our future is bright with a young couple like you caring about this state and caring about our nation, and I thank you for all you've done.
Thank you. Senator Casano, followed by Senator Kelly.
Thank you, Madam President. I too rise for a point of personal privilege, and I want to offer congratulations to Art for a couple of years of just terrific service. You've always handled yourself well. You're prepared with your bills. You've always got a smile on your face. You've sat through these long nights, difficult nights, and it just doesn't seem to bother you. You never had a problem speaking. I think probably the most difficult thing for you ever to say was probably in the last few months, she's a Democrat. Outside of that, I wish you nothing but the best. I think it's great that you had a career young. Most of us have been working much of our lives, and we end up here. you're doing it a different way. So when those people out in the street talk about those people in this building, you'll know what it's like, and you can tell them. So wish you both nothing but the best. Thank you.
Senator Kelly, followed by Senator Schlossberg.
Thank you, Madam President. I also rise for a point of personal privilege to talk about
proceed.
Art Linares, our good friend and colleague. I remember the first time you came into caucus. You were just running for office, and not that you're not young now, but you seem so much younger then. And you go out and you worked hard, one of the traits that you have, and you became a senator. And I remember those early nights when we were back in the Republican lounge talking about a whole bunch of different things, and he's not here now, but Senator Guglielmo, and we started reminiscing about, you know, MASH and TV shows from the 70s, and you're sitting there like, what are you guys talking about? Like, I have no idea what that is. And then it dawned on us, yeah, you're a different generation, but yet you have the same passion and the same ideals to advocate for people of Connecticut. And that's what's really refreshing. And I know that as the people come and go here in the circle, the chairs change in the caucus room. And I know when Kane left, you moved down the table, and I also followed down the table, because the issue that I always saw that was so energizing and refreshing, and we heard a bit when Senator Wong talked about this, was your appreciation of the American dream. And that as we talked about bills and what is happening here in Hartford, you would always reaffirm those initiatives that would give the most opportunity to people to achieve who and what they want to be. And it was great sitting across the table and hearing that, because it was all about things that were great, that were positive, that were moving things forward. And while it's bittersweet to hear that you're not going to stay here, the fact that you work hard and are willing to continue to put your name forward and run as treasurer, I know a couple of things. One, you're going to work as hard as you can, and that if there's somebody that's going to win, it's you. Number two, if we're going to reinvent and reestablish the American dream in this great state that Senator Kennedy spoke so eloquently about, which I all believe that we not only cherish and that we believe in, but if we're going to get this state back on track and back to where it needs to be, you're the guy that's going to do it, because you have the youthful optimism, you have the talent, the capability, and the wisdom and energy to move that agenda forward so that people in Connecticut can have the hope, opportunity, and the American dream that we're all promised. There's nobody that embodies that better than you, and I appreciate that. Now, we've heard a lot about the mixed marriage. I'm a product of it too. My mom's a Democrat. I wish he was here right now. The two things I got from my grandmother on my mom's side were her rosary beads from Knock, Ireland, and the picture of JFK that used to hang in the dining room above the buffet. And that actually sits in my office back in Stratford. On the Kelly side, different story. A little bit more conservative, traditional Catholic values, and so they tend to be the Republicans. But the one thing that comes through in both sides of the equation is that the family comes first, and that we never looked at it was mom's right or dad's right. It was just different perspectives, different ways to look at the same equation to actually make the family better. That's something that is going to be bettered by this arrangement, and it's something that I think we all learn, is that we don't all have the right answers, but working together with different people from different perspectives, we get the right answer. And that's something that we all need to to work on and to work for. Art, like I say, it's bittersweet. I wish you'd stay. And I remember the first few days, a lot of people are saying they didn't understand what was going on, but I remember when Representative Simmons showed up in the lounge, and you're asking me questions, and we're talking, and I'm like, who is that person? Well, I found out later who that person was. I didn't realize we had Democrats sitting in the Republican lounge, but we did. So when people were saying, oh, there's something going on there, I was like, oh, well, now 1 and 1 is 2. I kind of figured it out. But I do wish all of you the best. I know that this isn't easy because of your commitment, not only to the Senate and the people you represent, but to our great state. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you, Caroline, for sharing him also with the state of Connecticut and his pursuit for treasurer, because I know that that's not an easy task. But both of you are committed, are passionate and advocates for a better Connecticut. And I just thank you for your public service.
Senator Schlossberg.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise too also for a point of personal privilege and to say thank you to Senator Linares, to Art, for your service and for your advocacy and for the joy and exuberance you have brought to this building. I will tell you, unlike the people before me, I have a bone to pick with you. And although I will congratulate you, because I've been here for 14 years, and in those years, you have managed, right at your very first day, to put me in a pickle, which I think many people have tried to do for many years. You, with your very passionate interest in Tesla and moving that forward, you made my district ground zero, because we both have a distributorship there in Milford, as well as the largest number of auto dealers. So I didn't get to go anywhere in my town with anybody without getting lobbied on your issue. So I congratulate you for that, and I know it was something that you really care about. In all seriousness, though, I think the opportunity we've had to work together is on something that I know that we both share and hold near and dear to our hearts, and that is education and education issues. And I admire, the advocacy, the passion, the commitment, and as one of our colleagues said previously, your desire to always ensure that you are creating opportunities for our children. And that's really important, and I respect that. And you always stood firm in that to say, you know what, but how is this going to affect kids having more opportunities? And that matters. And so I thank you for that. It was an important perspective to have, and you always stood firm in that. People have spoken about your youth and your enthusiasm. You have created optimism for all of us. We all feel very, I think in some respects, I almost want to say, parental, but in a respectful way, because you certainly, are second to none in that way, but just in our pride of knowing that in your young years you have made a commitment to public service, and you have brought that forward so well. The love story between you and your beautiful bride is really a joy to witness. It's very, we've all seen it, but for anybody who might happen to be flipping through the stations right now, to watch you guys in the hallway it is a moment of love and sweetness that we need here. And so it's really it's fun, and you make us all smile, and that's a good thing here. So my comments to you are that this is not a goodbye. It is clearly just the beginning for you, for Caroline, for your life together, for your public service together. I am looking forward to following that storyline, and I wish you both much happiness and all good things. Thank you.
We remark further, before we go on to speaking, allowing the leaders of the circle to speak, I got to put my 2 cents in too. You know, Art, I have to say, one of the things that we've talked about your family and that kind of stuff, but when your mom and dad were sitting right up there and looking down at you, the chamber lit up. The smiles on their faces, the pride that they showed, it was unbelievable. And I don't know if you looked up as much as I did, because this bright light hit me. But they really, and they should be proud. They should be proud of you. You've done a great job. It's kind of interesting to me that I must admit, I'm glad you're moving to Stanford. I'm also glad that I know at least that you, Caroline, will get one Republican vote next time. But the two of you have really made a great couple. And I have to tell you that there was a day that I finally said to somebody, why is a freshman woman legislator doing up here hanging around outside the hallway? I didn't know who it was for, but boy, it was a great step forward. Art, I also want to tell you that you do something that many people don't do. When you stand up to speak, it's not every time that you stand up to speak. And so when you do stand up to speak, people do listen. Because you're not talking about every issue that's out there. You're talking about issues that you care about. And that's a great thing in this building, to have somebody that does that. So I want to be on the list to wishing the two of you everything great, everything wonderful. If you choose to have children and you need a Jewish grandmother, you can adopt me. But really, from the bottom of my heart, I wish you the very, very best in everything. God bless the two of you. At this time, I'll turn it over to Senator Witkos.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Please proceed, sir.
Thank you. I'd like to share with the chamber the dirty little secrets of Art Linares. Now, in all seriousness, I want to start with Art's determination, and that is when he decided to run for the state senate. And we weren't sure how he was going to do. A young Republican running in a three-way race in a district that was controlled by the Democratic Party for decades. And so, slowly but surely, word was finding its way to the Senate Republican Campaign Committee that, wow, we got somebody here that may actually pull it off. And I said, I can't wait to meet this guy if it happens. And I had the occasion to, as did all of us here, most of us here, be in the chamber on opening day. But before that, I remember monitoring Art's website and everything he was posting, and he had the shoes upside down on a peg rack with all the holes. And I tell you, I've owned the same pair of shoes for like 20 years, and I still can't wear a hole in them. And I don't know how he was able to wear holes in 10 pairs of shoes, but what a great story that made. So I think, in all honesty, he actually knocked on almost every single door in his entire Senate district. And once people got a chance to meet him, they knew that he was the real deal, that they felt that their interests were best served by sending him to Hartford to represent them on all the issues. Because Art was a family man. And he's starting his own family now, but at the time, his campaign manager was his brother. His parents were heavily involved, his uncles, his family from New Jersey would come up. They were here on almost every closing day, on opening day. And that's a commitment to their son, to their nephew, to their brother. And he gave that back. And Art is very dedicated to others because he'd be the first one to say, hey, I'm with you, man. If you need any help, let me know. I'll come out there, I'll do this. I'll get involved here. Can I help you on a bill? Or even on a personal matter. Art was always there to say yes. And he has some very unique friends. I was invited down one day to one of his colleagues at work and went over to his house, and we had a 5-course dinner. And I'm like, holy cow, this is awesome. I've never been to a 5-course dinner. I had to ask what each of the plates were and how it was just the presentation. And I asked Art, I said, is he a chef? He's like, no, this is just his hobby. And so I said, well, I'm going to go into the kitchen and talk to him. And so I went in, and Mike was the gentleman, and what a fantastic guy, and the group of friends that he had there that evening. And we went, finally, I think it was after midnight, before Mike goes, "Hey, Art, why don't you and your friends just basically get out of my house? I got to go to work the next day." But that just shows Art's passion, and passion is also involved in the committees that he served on and the issues that were important to him. And I think maybe part of it was because of his age. Art always had a passion that ever since I knew, of charter schools, apprenticeships, entrepreneurships, and for somebody to be able to start a business of his. And that's what he went to college for. At such a young age, he wasn't a young age when he went to college, but he had the vision when he went to college to start this solar company. But the passion that he showed, and he followed his passions through. And that's what sometimes get lost. People have great ideas, but if the momentum's not there, or the energy's not there, they just kind of go by the wayside. But not Art. Once he gets his idea and his mind set on something, he follows through with it. I had the opportunity to go down to campaign with Art at one of his district fairs, and I always thought like I was the king of the tchotchke stuff, because I always like to get cool different things to hand out to my constituents. And he met me in the parking lot because I wasn't sure where he was located, and he's like, "Oh, I'm up here." He goes, "Check this out." And I'm like, "Oh my God, that is an awesome tent that you have here. Where did you get that from?" And so I came back and told my campaign manager, I said, "Talk to Linares." I said, "He has a tent. That is so cool." I said, "I want to get one too." I said, 'cause, I mean, he just raised the bar that much higher, because that's how he invests himself in everything that he does. He ratchets it up. And sometimes it's very hard to keep up with Art, as evidenced by people that march in parades. You know, you're almost at a sprint to stay up behind Linares, because he's always over on the sides, shaking people's hands, getting back to the middle of the road, waving again, darting over to the side again, shaking hands, because he's so loved and well-liked in his district. And when he gets involved in things like the committees that he served on, I know Senator Bai recently spoke about higher education, and others that served on the Banking Commission, that Art invests himself wholly and understands the issue. Oftentimes we have so many different bills that come through our committees, we don't necessarily understand the depth of that subject matter, but he dedicated himself to that. And he also dedicates himself to being a budget hawk. If you recall, 2 years ago, Art was one of the last few members to speak on the budget on closing night as we were nearing the adjournment period. And I think that's why his passion to seek higher office, to seek the office of treasurer, is because he cares about Connecticut, he cares about the fiscal state of the state, and he believes that his best interests and all of our best interests will be suited by serving in that office. Art is always a proud young man, but he's humble too. And I'll share a story about him being humble. So we had this opportunity to go to Nashville recently for an educational forum, and we were out. We went to the day's activities, and then Representative Porter and Art and myself would walk around. We walked by the sign that says, and Lieutenant Governor, you would appreciate this, "Buy one, get 2 free pairs of shoes." And we were in a cowboy boot store. So we went in, and, you know, being the guys, we were kind of quick, but Representative Porter, she must have tried on like 60 pairs of boots. And we're like, "Robin, can you speed it up a little bit? We kind of want to continue on with the night." And so she found a pair of boots, and we all made a pledge. Well, tomorrow and the next day, we're going to wear our cowboy boots to the breakfast. So we show up at the breakfast, and Art says, "Oh man, I wore my boots, but I don't know if I should, because I'm going to be sitting up on the stage with President Bush. I was invited to sit up there." And somebody leaned over and said, "Art, look at his shoes." And President Bush had a pair of cowboy boots on himself. So but that shows the humbleness of Art, that he didn't want to pay disrespect to the institution of, as a Senate leader, that it may have cast a poor light on Connecticut. And so he's very conscious of that. But I think he felt okay after he saw President Bush with his cowboy boots on. And I kind of got a little nervous earlier because I was jotting down some notes so I wouldn't forget anything. And I could have sworn I heard Senator Hartley start to say, "I'm going to call you the father of bipartisan something." But I didn't hear the bipartisan at first, and I thought, did an announcement just come out? And I had to hear from Joan. I didn't get to hear from Art myself. But I'm glad I heard it was a bipartisanship, father. And then we were at another conference one time, and this is where Caroline comes into the story. in Washington, D.C., and there was a group of us, and we were getting together for dinner, and like, where's Art? You know, he's always late. He's always on his phone. So he goes, I'll catch up with you guys later. He comes back, well, where are you? We're going to meet for breakfast. All right, yeah, I'll be late again. So that night at dinner, I said, dude, why are you always late? Where are you going? He's like, well, there's a Democratic convention down in the same time. I'm like, and you're going over there? Seriously? And he said, well, I got to tell you. He goes, there's this girl I'm thinking about getting engaged to. And I said, who? He says, Rep Simmons. I go, who's that? And he says, you know. I said, well, I'm trying to think. I said, from Connecticut? He goes, yeah. She's a rep from Stanford. And I said, oh. So I said, okay, well, I'll have to, when I get back, I said, unless you're going to bring her to introduce me tonight, I said, I'll have to make sure I get to meet Caroline. And so, of course, as soon as I got back to Connecticut, I went through the little handbook to see and read up on Caroline's bio and saw what committee she's on, because I said, I'd feel really bad if she was on any of my committees, and I didn't know who it was, because she was relatively new, and sometimes we don't get to know the members of the House if we don't necessarily serve on the same committees with them, and I know that I had left the House when Caroline came in. But then I saw that she was on one of the committees I was on, and I even felt worse. But then I made an excuse to myself. I said, well, I'm on general law. That means the same time as public safety, so that's probably why our paths never crossed. I said, but, you know, everybody has said, and I would concur, that what a great match, a match made there. I mean, just seeing the two of you just sitting together in the chamber, I think is a great start of how, and continues on the legacy of Connecticut politics, that it moves forward. And Art and I have always had a long-distance relationship because we never sit next to each other. We're across the floor here, and in the caucus room, he sits on the other end, but we're texting buddies. And when you're serving over in the treasurer's office, I may not see you because you may be a little distance away, but we're only a text away, and I just want to wish you and your lovely bride all the best. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Senator Duff?
Thank you, Madam President. Art, you know, I have to say that I'm glad you're here, and that may sound a little strange from the majority leader, and you're in a different party, but I'm glad you're here. And I'll tell you exactly why. Because when we get new members who come to the House or the Senate, especially sometimes if they're younger, that they sometimes come in and with a chip on their shoulder or wanting to kick the door down and don't necessarily respect the institution, respect tradition, or the ways in which sometimes things are done. Not to say that this shouldn't be changed at times, but that you came in a way that you wanted to serve, you wanted to make a difference, but you wanted to also respect the institution of the state Senate. And I think for all of us, we appreciate that, and we appreciate your demeanor, your friendliness. Even the other night when we had a back and forth a little bit, we went on the couch and we spoke a little bit and we joked, and just your pleasant personality. I think, you know, as has been said with Senator Kennedy and with yourself, having people who work to get along with others and who work to be collegial and can disagree without being disagreeable and can be pleasant about things, and how in other places we don't necessarily see that, and how you have brought really a level of respect that you have earned and that you give as well, and I think that we're going to miss that. We don't know who your replacer, your successor will be, but having you here has been a good experience for all of us. I think we have, you know, you've succeeded the legendary Eileen Daly, and that was certainly big shoes to fill, but you have made your own mark. When I was elected into the House, I replaced somebody who had been there for 14 years, and I remember on election day and a special election day, people said to me, big shoes to fill. And I'm sure you probably heard the same thing yourself. And that is intimidating at times, but I think what you have done is created your own path with your own shoes and done things your own way, but done it in a way that has brought people together and in a way that can be agreeable and working to bring legislators together on common ideas and ideas that you think are important for the state of Connecticut. Secondly, I just want to mention your beautiful bride, of course, because she is 2 towns over from me. And as I said after you got married, I always thought you were an urban guy, that you would be better off in Stamford. You know, I wish you well in the future, and certainly the two of you. Many of you don't know, but the other day, and I hope I don't embarrass you too much, and I hope this comes out okay, but the other day I saw 2 people as I was literally walking out of the caucus room, staring at each other, smiling and laughing and giggling, and I was like, they looked like newlyweds. And then I looked over, and it was the 2 of them. And it was almost like, you know, if it weren't the 2 of you, we go, oh my gosh, you know, who are those 2 people? But we're so glad that the 2 of you found each other here, and that you will make a beautiful family together, and you'll have a very, very happy future together, and we wish you all the best. And thank you again for being here, for serving, and for your friendship for the last 6 years. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Senator Looney.
Thank you, Madam President, for a point of personal privilege.
Please proceed, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. Representative Linares, Senator Linares, when you came to the Senate in the 2012 election, obviously you replaced Senator Eileen Daly, who retired due to ill health after serving 20 years. She and I had come in together, and she was one of my closest friends in the circle over that entire 20-year period. And frankly, I wasn't initially prepared to be all that well disposed to you when you came in, but your personality, your demeanor, your collegiality was something that I think everyone came to appreciate after you had been here a short time. And I think one of the things about you that has been most salutary and helpful is the fact that you showed young people in the state that it is possible to make an impact as a young person. That you don't have to be in your 30s or 40s or 50s to make an impact. You can run for office at a young age, and if the right combination of circumstances prevails, you can win. And you can be in office and make a contribution while most other people are still trying to figure out what it is they want to do. And so I think that is something that you showed is possible, and really I think is going to be an inspiration to young people of both parties for a long time. And obviously, I think many of us try to make an effort to some degree to reach across the aisle or reach across party lines and be bipartisan. Some to a moderate degree, some even more. But of course, you've surpassed everyone in that regard in marrying a wonderful House Democrat from Stamford, Representative Simmons, whom we all admire for her brilliance and her skill and her great mastery of issues also. So I think that that fact of your relationship, as Senator Duff said, is something we all find warm and inspiring. That there are times when a connection of human souls can really transcend the kind of differences that we now designate as political, and that's something I think that we all need to be reminded of to help establish a broader perspective on things. So I can't say that I wish you well on the immediate endeavor on which you're engaged this particular year, but in general, I certainly wish you every great success and another, because of your youth, potentially 60 years more of engagement in life and energy and public service and doing good for the people of the state of Connecticut. And as was said earlier, I think by Senator Austin and others, I think those of us who are older are inspired with a great sense of comfort that people of your generation are willing to step up, be involved in public life, not be alienated or disengaged, and give us confidence that there are sound young hands ready to take leadership positions in our state. So congratulations to you.
Senator Fasano.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Well, that's about as close as you're going to get to an endorsement from Senator Looney than that. You won't get much closer than that. You know, I think it's kind of unfair. I came in with dark hair, and when I retire, I'm going to leave with gray hair. You get to leave with dark hair. There's something unjust about that. You have really grown in our caucus. When you first began, I think you were trying to get your feet wet, understand the building. But where you've grown is understanding the economy, understanding the budget, understanding the implication of businesses, understanding the importance of businesses. If I never hear the word Tesla again, I'll be a happy soul. But you have really grown in that regard because you've recognized what that means to be in Connecticut to make the economy flourish, jobs. Your success in your business that you were very successful in, and you can do other endeavors, I'm sure, on the business side, is something that has made you a key component, not only in this caucus, but in this circle in the state of Connecticut. You and Caroline smile all the time. You do, which is great, because that's, as Senator, I think it was Kelly said, the youthfulness and the optimism of the world. And I think that's what we need a lot more in this building. And I think that's what we need a lot more in politics. Sometimes we do with the daily drudgery of the budget and the arguments that come in front of us and the conflicts. And I think some youthful spirit sometimes is very engaging and energizing in this building. And you guys bring it. And that's the reason why Senator Looney and I were talking earlier, and we decided that with this budget that you guys should go home tonight, come back with a bipartisan budget tomorrow, and save us a lot of trouble. I think you guys can pull that off. But I will say this, there's so many words have been said, I'll just repeat them in brevity and say that you're a terrific guy, you've married a terrific lady. She went to Harvard, that's not the greatest school in this country, but anyway, being from Yale, but you married a terrific lady, and you guys are going to be tremendously successful. But what's important is you're going to be key players to the state of Connecticut. Key players are moving us forward for the next generation. And I know that you'll be successful in your treasurer campaign. Caroline, you're going to be a tremendous force in that house. And I wish you both tremendous success for the future. Thank you, and thank you for serving. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to let you, no, we're going to clap first. You're going to wait. There we go. Sit on. Senator Linares, would you like to say anything? Somebody push Senator Linares' button? Okay, thank you very much.
Madam President, I stand here with great admiration and respect for all of my colleagues in the Senate. Words cannot describe how appreciative I am for all of your comments tonight and how much I cherish each and every one of you and the relationship that we have. And I'd like to thank all of you for your dedication to helping others, because ultimately every one of you comes to work every day here and you put the state of Connecticut before yourself. And I can't thank you enough for that. My parents always reminded me growing up, they told me this often, they said, you become who you surround yourself with. And I am the luckiest guy in the world that I've been able to surround myself with all of you for the past 5.5 years. This has been the honor of a lifetime, and it's been a true honor for my family, my mother and my father. They have been so proud, and they couldn't be happier to hear all of the stories that I've shared with them over the years and the conversations with all of you. Growing up, my father had a study in our house, and after school or football practice, I would sit in the study and I'd do homework. And when it was time for dinner, my dad would walk into the study and he'd look at me and he'd say, "Senator, it's dinner time." And I was only, 12 years old, 13 years old. And so I think he brainwashed me from an earlier age to do this. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank my younger brother, Ryan, who, when he just walked off the podium, graduated from college, sat down with me on the front porch of my family home, and I looked at him and I said, "What are you doing this summer?" And he said, got nothing going on. I said, would you want to run my Senate campaign? And there we were, just the two of us. It was us against the world at that time, but we started to make some friends. And I can remember Joe Markley coming to our campaign headquarters when it was just a few of us. John McKinney came by at the time. I remember the time when the Senate Republicans wanted to know who this young guy was that was running for office. And actually the first person I met, thanks to the introduction from Bill Hamsey, was the first senator I met was Senator Len Fasano. And I sat in his law office, and he asked me questions about, why I was interested in getting involved. And thanks to Len and thanks to his guidance, I had the opportunity. And I'll never be able to thank you enough for that, Len. And also, would like to thank the beautiful woman sitting to my right, Caroline. Caroline, your smile, your kindness, your thoughtfulness has radiated joy inside of me that I never knew was possible. And I'm so blessed to have met you and to have met you here. The experience of serving with you has been once in a lifetime, something I will always cherish. It's rare where you see a true talent. You see, we see this often. We see Olympians who are able to do things that we never thought would be possible. We see musicians who can hit notes that we've never heard before. And I've seen Caroline in this role as a public servant. And she has the kind of raw, amazing, beautiful skill and talent that I've never seen before. And I'm just so happy that you're going to be able to exercise that talent and let the world see what you can do. In the past 6 years, often my uncles and my father would tell me, listen, don't let this title get to your head. It won't last forever. And I always knew that. And it's always very interesting when you hear someone refer to you as senator, but I always kind of brushed it off. I said, this wouldn't last forever. Just the other day, Caroline and I had an important doctor's appointment, and I heard a new title that will last forever. The nurse asked me, "Are you Dad?" And I said, I certainly hope so. And when I think about the next chapter in life, I couldn't be more excited and thrilled and just cannot wait to enjoy that time with Caroline and our family. I'll be sure to share with our child and hopefully bring him or her around. I tried to do a gender reveal on the Senate floor, but Caroline vetoed that. But I'll be sure to bring our little one around and to meet his or her new aunts and uncles in the Senate chamber next session. And I'll be sure to share stories I'll be sure to share the story when I was first elected and I was invited to the governor's mansion for a freshman breakfast. And I was very nervous. I didn't have a suit to wear, and I was running in early. I was late, and I walked in, and Nancy Wyman greeted me at the door. And she pulled me close, and she whispered in my ear. She said, Senator-elect, there are still tags on your suit. And in a very stealthy way, she pulled out a pair of scissors, snipped them off quietly, and then whispered in my ear, everyone needs a Jewish grandmother. And that's... And that's when I learned the magic of Nancy Wyman. I have many other stories. I have had many great laughs at the other end of our caucus table with Senator Kelly, Senator Guglielmo, Senator Kane at the time. And then I remember driving to opening day one day, and I looked over to my left and I said, where's Rob Kane? He became a good friend of mine, and Senator Berthel is a good friend as well. And I've grown to love the people of Watertown because I've gotten to know the two senators that have sat next to me very well, and I appreciate those times. I'll be sure to tell my, although he's not in the room, I'll be sure to tell our child, Caroline, that I became good friends with a great senator who flew airplanes, raced motorcycles, landed a helicopter once to vote, and he's the modern-day Batman, Senator France. I'll tell them about a senator named, well, hopefully they'll call him Uncle Kevin, who's one of the busiest guys in the Senate chamber. He ran restaurants, he worked full-time, he had huge responsibilities in the Senate. But when I needed him, and when I asked him, he hosted an event for me at the drop of a dime. And I'll never forget that. I've made great friendships with so many of you that I could spend the rest of the day talking, and I know we have a lot of business to take care of, but there's one last person that I want to thank, and I believe it's one of the hardest working public servants that I've ever seen, and that's Senator Fasano. He is an incredible role model and someone that I believe I've gotten a priceless experience to look up to and watch, and his dedication has been inspiring, and it's been so nice to have sit next to the master of the Senate. I just want to leave by saying, hopefully this isn't goodbye, and it won't be goodbye. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve with all of you. I love you all. God bless you, and God bless this great state.
So just remember, I did offer to be the grandmother before you made the announcement. Congratulations to both of you. This really makes this night an extra special night. Senator Duff,